Our great-grandfathers somehow managed to do something that no other nation did. That is, we built towns and cities with walls and palaces and huge marketplaces and so on. So you ask yourself, what was the dynamic factor, the fundamental factor that creates a people to be different from all the others? A certain man, a certain intellectual like me, an old man, Peter Hill, Professor Peter Hill, wrote a book some years ago. He studied the effect of towns and cities in the history of peoples. And he came to this very important conclusion, that when a people somehow manage to lift their civilization to the level of building cities and towns, they are creating a platform for very radical development of their civilization after that. That no major jump in civilization in the history of the human race has happened outside the context of a town or city. So when people gather themselves together in a town and cities, that they begin to elevate their civilization very rapidly. In 1533, one Portuguese explorer trader said in Lagos, he said, 10 leagues up north from here, there is a large city called Debu, that's in Jebu, surrounded by a famous wall. And Jebu was, as of that point in time, at least 400 years old. And Jebu is not the oldest of our cities. There are others that were much older. Ife, the first of them all. Ketu in as far east in Efa today in Benin Republic. Ilaogun, Ilesha, Ondo, and so on. All those cities are great old cities. We Yoruba don't have any new cities. All over Africa, most cities were built by colonialists, rulers in the course of the 20th century. The only cities we can call new cities in Yoruba land are the few that we built in the 19th century, not in the 20th century, that we ourselves built in the 19th century. We built Ibadan in the 19th century. Ibadan was a small village. There were large numbers of people fleeing from troubles in other parts of Yoruba land came and settled and developed into a great city immediately. And it became our most dynamic city, led mostly by young men. And they made a great success of it. Became the most dynamic of our cities, the home of opportunities, the land of merit. We built Abeokuta also in the 19th century. We built Shagamu also in the 19th century. A number of other small ones. Okeodan in Ibadan. Okeagbe in Akoko. Ayede in Ekiti. That's why we got 6 or 7 new towns. All of the rest of the towns and cities that you see in Yoruba land today are nearly 1,000 years old. It is in the context of these cities and towns that we developed our civilization. We, for instance, we Yoruba didn't live in small houses. Or me and my family, me and my wife and my children, our only 2 houses. There was nothing like that in Yoruba land. In every town and city, Our ancestors lived in large family compounds called Agboile. The Agboile was one large building with different courtyards, with living house quarters in it. Sometimes there were as many as 50 families or 60 families in a large Agboile. We built those structures. So you ask yourself, how did the people who did not have machines, who did not have bulldozers and cranes and so on, how did they manage to build these humongous family compounds? How? I grew up in one. And when I was young, in the town where I was raised, there were only a few modern houses just coming. Everything was family compound after family compound after family compound. So you ask yourself, how did they build this family compound? What was the technology? When you ask that question, you are jumping into another area of our culture that is unique. We are a people who mastered the art of collaboration. We Yoruba people mastered the art of collaboration. Today when you want to build your house, you hire somebody to do the plan for you. It's you and your wife and your children. No, in ancient times, when the Yoruba family decides, or the head, somebody has prospered, he wants to create a compound or whatever, he doesn't talk only to his wife and children. Everybody knows that he is going to do it, and they come and surround him. The whole community holding hands, clear the land, begin to make the mud walls, go into the bush to go and find, to go and touch the materials for making the roof. Those who have the skill go onto the roof and put it together and put the roof there, and annually repair the roofs and so on. That's how. And we built these things, these huge family houses without slave labor. We had some slaves if you were lucky. If my village fought your village over some land or something, and happened occasionally. Although we didn't have big wars. And you were unlucky to be captured by our side, you become a slave to one of the chiefs on our side. That's all. And so there were a few slaves in Yoruba. But slave labor was not a major factor in our economic life. Collaboration was the big factor. And it was not only in the building of houses, or the building of palaces, or the building of marketplaces, or the building of city walls. No, it was also in the making of the individual's economic life. So, on the farm, for instance, collaboration was developed into powerful institutions, whereby an old man like me, I can still make a very large farm. How? Even though I don't have the energy to even make one single people anymore, I can still be the owner year after year of very large farms. How? Because there was an institution called Owe. Owe means that one person can announce of his children and his children's children and his children's children, his daughter's husbands, and their relations and friends and so on, and say, on so date, I want to start to make my farm, and I want you to come and work with me. And they will come. They will clear the land, if that is the job for the day. Or the young man will take up there and clear the land. He didn't have to pay them anything. That's an institution. All he needed to give to them is food for the day as they are working. And if he has palm wine, maybe palm wine also. Then when it is time to make the heats, they come back, or other group come back, and they help him to make the heats. So at the end of the day, one single person will make a very large farm and will be able to sell surpluses of food. That's how we were able to produce rich men from among our farmers. There were rich farmers in Yoruba land from very ancient times. But there was another institution that is not aware. That's the one the individual calls people. The other one is called Aro, which means that a group of in Aro, a group of us young men will hold a meeting and decide, okay, we form an Aro. 10 of us. All 10 of us will go to your farm, make your farm. All 10 of us will come to my farm, make my farm. All 10 of us will go to the all around. So every one of the 10 of us will then have a large farm that we could never have been able to make on our own. That's how we prosper. We prosper. We are a prosperous nation. And in the town, the same collaboration system worked. Usually it is the women. Now, women are a different type of breed of women from the rest of the world. Period. I mean, so when I say that, people say, oh, Prof, I say, yeah, well, yeah, I mean what I'm saying. The Yoruba woman is a different sort of woman. Yeah, the Yoruba woman is a different sort of person, a different type of woman. Very industrious people. They just created the commercial success for our nation. We men don't trade. Yoruba men, there's no way to compete with Yoruba women in trade. They were the greatest traders on the African continent. And they took Yoruba trade not only within Yoruba land, but into other parts of Africa, as far away as the Upper Nile, in what is South Sudan and South Sudan. Yeah, our women created commercial colonies all over the place. But I was talking of the collaboration in the town. They created what is known as a sisu. That's something that only we had. A susu, which means that a group of us will come together, maybe neighbors in an area, they come together and say, we are creating an susu and we are appointing you as our leader. So how does the susu run? It runs by, we will decide, this is the amount, unit. The unit of a susu is, okay, let's say 10 naira in today's money. 10 naira. Everybody gathers every 5 days, market day, or the day after market day, and contributed their 5 naira. There are 20 of us, that's 200 naira. The head of the Sisu group will then give all the 200 naira to number one. Before we start, we would have agreed the order in which we are going to line up. So you give the 200 naira to the first one. Next time, he will give the 200 naira to the second one. The one after, he will give the 200 until all the 20 of us have had a chance. And then we'll start another one. That's a powerful means of creating wealth. Because and there was discipline in it. Enormous discipline. Lateness to bring your sisu, it is not tolerated. You know it, everybody knew it. You don't bring your sisu late. And if you do happen to have the habit of bringing your sisu late, you might be expelled. And that's a disaster for you if you are expelled. Because one, even if you are number 2 or 3 in the list and you are expelled, you will have to wait until all the others before you get the little you have contributed. You will have to wait till the very end. And also the news will go around that you have been expelled from an Esisu and you have had yourself ill luck. Because it will be difficult for you to find another Esisu group that will ever touch you again. They won't let you, they won't accept you. And the story will go around, you are irresponsible and you are difficult to do business with. And so you've created misfortune for yourself. So Esisu is not something one handled carelessly. You don't have the money when the day comes to contribute to Esisu, you go and borrow it. Or you go and fight your husband and force him to give you the money. That is it. The result is our women could be rich. And there is no town in Yoruba land. There is no town in Yoruba land that does not have stories of rich women. There is no such town in Yoruba land. That where you go to talk about the economic history of this town, can you remember Baba Lagbaja used to have huge farms and so on and so forth in his time, and they will talk about a man who used to do that 5-6 centuries ago and so on and so forth. But they will also talk about a woman or some women who are also very rich, who are the richest people in society, who have more money than everybody, men or women. So that's it. That's the type of people we were. They even extended it to cotton yarn. Cotton yarn. You know, women spin cotton to make threads. When you have a bundle of that, that's what is called yarn for weaving cloths. Okay? Some women will get together in the neighborhood and say, okay, we're going to start an Owu yarn. That is an Esisu in Owu, not in cash. So they would agree, how much of yarn shall we contribute every time we do it? So they had their own measure behind the house of a little pole at that end, another pole here. It is measured, and you go around it X number of times. You've created this particular quantity of yarn. So we decide, okay, this is how much yarn we will be contributing. Everybody brings it. The same type of discipline as in a you don't bring your own contribution with. Period. That's all. And the head will take all of the yarn they bring and give it to number one. Take all of the yarn the next time and give it to number two, until all of the members of Owu have taken their turn, and then they will start again. So we Yoruba are constantly creating wealth by collaborating. In 1854 to 55, one American missionary traveled in Yoruba land for about 4 years. He kept traveling, visiting most towns of Yoruba land and so on. And in the book he wrote afterwards, he said, listen to this very carefully. He said, among us white people of the world, the greatest institution of mental excellence is the balance of power to prevent abuse of powers. Balance of power. You create an institution, you create another institution to balance it. So we Yoruba created the king. Yes, the king is the ruler. The king is the ruler. Is the Oriaye and so on. The king is the Orisha. Okay, but he is not the person making our laws. Our chiefs, chosen from the various compounds, And the people go to the palace, sit there with him throughout the day, every day, to consider the issues of the town and make the laws. But when they have made the laws, they dared not say that they had made the law. The king had made the law, and it was announced as the king's law. But it was strictly forbidden for the king to make any law by himself. If he did that, they would remove him from the throne. So the king knew that he cannot just sit and talk to his wife and his friends and make a law. He has to attend the meeting of the council of chiefs, where they will make the laws. And then when they had made the laws, it was his law, the king's law. So can you see? The king cannot make the law. The council must make the law. But the council cannot say, we made the law. It is the king who has made the law. Can you see the beautiful balance? That is the balance that gave us very respectable government all over Yoruba.